Eva Tarasova. I work for Wharton Asset Management Company. Wharton Asset Management is a single family office based in London, which was established in 1992. Just to give you a brief background on actually what family office means. Essentially, family office is the same as a VC fund, but with the difference that we don't have multiple LPs, we're actually managing money of one single family. Sometimes you would come across the term multifamily office, which means exactly the same. It's an investment vehicle for a few families where there is a third-party manager who is allocating into different asset classes. Since inception, Wharton, as any other family office in the space, has focused on multiple verticals, such as capital markets, global real estate, private equity, as well as venture capital. And in the last 15 years, the focus has slowly shifted to investing into startups, scale-ups, as well as private equity. Within Wharton, we actually do three things. One is we found and incubate companies in-house. And how it's different to a normal incubator accelerator type is actually that when we come across an idea or a founder with an idea, and we really believe in it, we'd like to help founders on the strategy, on putting the team together, as well as financing them. And when it comes to this incubation strategy, it's actually an open checkbook. We're willing to do whatever it takes to take the company to the market. So to make an example of our transaction sizes in that space, it ranges from as little as $500,000 up to about 5 million to actually keep you going. Another thing that we do within our direct investment strategy is typical startup investing from pre-seed up to about Series B for the first time in, with subsequent follow-on. So we are happy to follow into CDE rounds, provided we are investors from before. In this vertical, the typical investment size actually ranges between as low as 250,000 up to about 3-4 million for the first check-in. And another thing that we do is the pre-IPO crossover funding, when the company has actually filed the listing and the exit is happening within 6 to 12 months. On this later stage funding, we also do proper private equity, and that can be, management buyout, leverage buyout, or an infrastructure project. As an investors, we're loyal, patient, we always take a long-term view. The flexibility that family office gives you as opposed to a VC is that we don't have a fund cycle, which means we can be with you for as long as it takes to take your product to the market. We also prefer not to have a formal relationship with our founders. We really think that you're a part of our family. So whenever we meet you and hear about your startup, we'd like to really understand where these relationships can grow into something much bigger. That's why we always communicate with our startups at any time of the day, making sure that we're here for them whenever they need us. So what's really important to mention is the sectors that we actually cover. The biggest one that we absolutely love and would always go and invest in a company which comes from that sector rather than anything else is biotech and life sciences. And when we talk about biotech and life sciences, that actually means companies which are doing proper medical research. And that can be maybe you're coming up with a new therapeutics, with a new drug, or maybe you're doing a medical device for treatment of incurable disease. And within that, we're very specialized. We actually focus on gene, cell, tissue therapies, as well as medical devices, which could potentially be curative. The second vertical where we invest is what we call disruptive deep tech. That can be, when people talk about disruptiveness, it's actually a very confusing term. So just to make it clear for you guys, when we talk about disruptive, we mean either you're disrupting the vertical or sector you're operating in, so you're genuinely doing something new. For example, in our portfolio, we have a company in biometric security called Besecure, which operates in biometric security and authentication using your ECG, a space which is crowded by people trying to work on behavioral analytics, retina scans, fingerprints, and anything else you might think of, but company has a completely new take on the space using something that hasn't been really done before. On the other hand of this spectrum, we also believe that disruption can happen in a geography. So for example, we're investors in a retail tech company in Pakistan, which does stock management and stock analytics, which for the Western market might sound a little bit obsolete and uninteresting, but for a huge market like Pakistan, which is still severely underserved and is many years behind in the tech development, as opposed to the Western world, this is a proper disruption that those guys are bringing. And finally, the last vertical where we invest is consumer products and services. And when we talk about consumer, that can be actual physical goods, such as anything in food and beverage, cosmetics, as well as consumer tech. And whilst in the first two verticals, we're really happy to be the first money in and really help you grow the business from the ground up, in the last consumer vertical, we really would like to come in sort of in a pre-A series when there is already a proper product market fit established, and maybe you're looking for more capital to either take you to the next level by spending more money on marketing and advertising, or maybe you want to launch an extra product and you're looking for this R&D money. In any case, in the consumer vertical, it's somewhat de-risked investments that we're looking for. In terms of geographies, we're very much agnostic. So we've invested in companies literally from completely opposite parts of the world, from East and West US to Brazil, Canada, all the way to Pakistan, passing by through quite a few European countries. We're quite heavy in Spain and France, as well as UK, because obviously we're headquartered in London, so we're seeing a lot of local deal flow. But we're also really big fans of the emerging markets. That's why we've been quite active in Africa as a continent and been investing in companies which are based in the most interesting locations, such as Nigeria, Ghana, Niger. So we're really not caring where you guys based and what vertical you're really in. What we're really caring is that you actually have something that's going to disrupt either the vertical or the geography. So it's important to also mention what we actually have done before. So historically, we've been really heavy in the consumer space, and some of our biggest successes actually became household names. So we were investors in things like John West Tuna, Weetabix, Sanctuary, the cosmetics brand. But the company that we feel most proud of is actually our latest exit. And it's always good to talk about things which happen in the recent few months rather than about something which happened a few years ago. So our recent exit was in a company called Super Awesome, which sold to Epic Games back in summer, and we have announced in September. So guys, I'd really love to meet you and work on something exciting together. So please feel free to reach out to me